What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a breakdown and opinion on the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak digital event March 2022. Earlier today, Capcom hosted a new digital event highlighting what they have planned for the new expansion Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Going into this, I was a little bit apprehensive, as we've only really been drip-fed information so far. So, was this digital event going to reveal more? I was apprehensive. But the show kicked off with a sort of teaser trailer, kind of highlighting the monsters that they've already shown, as well as some of the aspects of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Nothing too new. We were then introduced to the show by the producer, Ryozo Tsuchimoto, as always, and whilst it wasn't a full-on show with them talking like in previous digital events, it was nonetheless a well put together sort of pre-produced presentation. But enough of production values, what did they actually say during the digital event? Well, the biggest news is we got a release date. I was not expecting this. The release date is June 30th, 2022, and it's a worldwide launch. So it's not that far away at all. This appears to be releasing simultaneously for both systems, so PC and Switch. This is great news, as before when they said it's going to be releasing summer 2022, I assumed it was going to be late summer, sort of end of August. But June 30th is a great day, as normally there is a little bit of a summer drought when it comes to video games, so this is just perfect, to be honest. Unfortunately, this for me was the highlight of the show. Knowing that it's going to be released very soon is wonderful. But did they reveal more? And more importantly, did they address any of the worries that we've had in regards to Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak? Well, one of the biggest things they showed off was a brand new trailer. This was quite a lengthy trailer. There was new monsters shown off in it, as well as a look at the new base, new characters, as well as some aspects of the story. There was a Bishaten variant, which I called it. I knew there was going to be a variant of some of the new Rise monsters. There was new wire bug moves shown off, although they weren't shown off in any great detail. There was new abilities for our Palamutes and Palicos, and they also showed that Astalos would be returning to the game. So all of these were great little teasers, although they didn't reveal any sort of in-depth details, shall we say. Personally, this trailer was exciting and it did get me hyped, which is rare, but most of these things I did expect, although Astalos returning was a nice addition. So after the trailer, as always, during these digital events, they go into a little bit more detail. They revealed that, of course, Master Rank would be returning, so I assume with Master Rank we'll be getting the return of monsters that are tougher, that have a slightly different moveset, as in their moveset has been expanded upon, so on and so forth, much like we have with other previous games, whether it be called Master Rank or G Rank. Personally, I prefer calling it Master Rank, but that's a personal preference. They then went on to talk about the new location known as the Citadel. This seemed a lot bigger than I anticipated, to be honest. It seems like a multi-biome area. It's not just one area like in the other areas found in Monster Hunter Rise, so it's not just a forest area or a icy area. It seemed to encompass different biomes. There was a frosty area in the Citadel. There was a ruined castle area, but it wasn't frozen over. There was a swampy kind of pseudo-forest area. So I really appreciate that we may be traveling to different biomes within one area. So that is a nice touch. How big it is, though, they didn't actually reveal. But it must be kind of big, at least bigger than the existing maps we already have in Monster Hunter Rise, considering it encompasses different biomes, like I said. So we'll have to see. I'm sure a map will be revealed or leaked eventually, which will answer that question. But next up, they talked about one of the new monsters they showed off during the trailer, Garangolm. This is a fanged beast, so it's a monkey boy. But it's a new monster, and quite big. It seems to be a monkey with a rock face and rock arms, basically. That's how I would best describe it. But its unique aspect is that it can coat its different arms in different elements. One arm can be coated in moss, which allows it to deal water damage, and the other can heat up, causing fire damage. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Personally, the addition of this monster is welcome, by me at least anyway. How it plays, though, is another question. Though I may like the look of a monster, sometimes fighting it is a different matter. Anyway, they then went on to talk about Lunagoron, which has already been revealed. This is the new fanged wyvern introduced with Sunbreak. Whilst it is of the Goron family, it doesn't seem to fight like its cousin Odogaron. It's an ice element fanged wyvern, and when enraged, it actually fights on its hind legs. So that's going to be incredibly interesting. Out of the new monsters, this is probably the one that I like the look of the most, but then again, I may be a little bit biased here. And once again, when we actually get to fight it, my opinion might definitely change. They then went on to mention the blood orange Bishaten, which is the variant or subspecies. I think it's called subspecies, to be honest, because it's actually a different element from the original. Anyway, semantics aside, it's a new Bishaten, which I assumed there was going to be new versions of the new monsters that were introduced with Monster Hunter Rise, whether it be Bishaten, Aknosom, Tetranodon, whatever. I assumed that we were going to get variants or subspecies of these monsters, and we got one at least. But the difference with this monster and its original form is instead of throwing fruit, it now throws explosive pine cones. I don't think this monster is going to prove to be that difficult in all honesty, but it's nice that we get some variety. And then finally for the monsters, they revealed of course the return of Astalos, which is a great addition to the title. One of the Fated 4 returning to the game is definitely welcome, especially because he was absent from Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, so I cannot wait to tackle him again. But that was about it for the monsters. Overall, it was quite a nice addition, quite a few monsters covered here. The show then went on to talk about the Rampage, which I was nervous about, but to be honest, they didn't really give us that much information about if the Rampage would be definitely returning. They kind of hinted at it, but they didn't actually reveal any details if it was a definite or not. So we'll have to wait on more information on that, unfortunately. The Rampage is a point of, well, contention when it comes to Monster Hunter Rise, and like I mentioned in previous videos, I hope it isn't at the forefront of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak's story, but again, we'll have to wait and see. They then went on to talk about the various characters in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. This was also accompanied by a sort of pseudo tour of the new area we're getting, which is known as Elgado. Of course, there's all the traditional stuff there, a canteen, a shop, smithy, quest giver, researcher, commander, so on and so forth. All the standard stuff that you would expect in a village area or city in Monster Hunter. Whilst it looked fine, I must confess that I was kind of apathetic towards this part of the show. For me, Monster Hunter has never really been about the story, but nonetheless, I did appreciate that we're getting a change of environment. It seems that we're going to a medieval kind of British kind of area, to be honest, which is a change from the sort of traditional Japanese area that we have in Kimura Village. But my opinion on this may change. Like I said, a lot of this is subject to change, shall we say. So we'll have to see. Now, one of the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak aspects that they talked about was a story aspect known as the Free Lords. It seems this is going to be the main driving point of Sunbreak's story. We have to take down Free Lords represented by free monsters to progress things. These Free Lords include Lunagoron, Garangon, and Malzeno, which is the flagship of Sunbreak. But there is bound to be more than just the Free Lords, to be honest. If we go from other Monster Hunter games and other Monster Hunter stories, there is normally a bigger threat above these Free Lords, but we'll have to wait and see. That kind of wrapped up the new information of this digital event. Of course, there is more information about the product of Sunbreak. There's a digital version as well as a deluxe digital version. There's a set edition where you can buy both Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak in the same set. There's pre-order bonuses as well as amiibos, so there's a lot of options there. They then briefly went on to talk a bit about Monster Hunter Rise news regarding the base version of Monster Hunter Rise. They said to access the Sunbreak content, you need to have completed the Serpent Goddess of Thunder quest first, which is straightforward. You just complete the story quest of Monster Hunter Rise. And then they went into a lot of information that we already know about, including information about the Defender weapons and the various armors and such. But two bits of information though, is that interestingly, these weekly event quests we have will be ending on March 25th, unfortunately. And on top of that, there'll be a huge 13GB patch when Sunbreak releases, which will need to be downloaded even if you don't have Sunbreak. This apparently encompasses things like weapon balance, which perked my ears, I must confess, because that potentially could be interesting. There'll also be other changes with this patch, but they didn't specify, so we have to plan appropriately. But that was pretty much the gist of what was shown off. Overall, it was good, although it was a lot of face value information. Information that we kind of already expected. We already expected returning monsters, new locations, new story. Of course, we also expected new wirebug moves, although surprisingly they didn't actually reveal much about the wirebug moves during this presentation. They did say they will be releasing more information up until the release date, so I'm sure we'll get some more information about the new wirebug moves and more then. They definitely hinted that there will be more monsters, but this is a good start, I believe. I'm cautiously optimistic. The hype for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak has been a little bit low, especially with the release of other titles lately, so I'm just hoping that this can pick up a little bit of steam for Monster Hunter. But what are your thoughts? Please leave a comment down below, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a breakdown of the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak digital event March 2022. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.